we should have a good finals. Decide who wants to play the triple anti-oath deck, whether it's me, whether it's Paul. I'm sure we'll have some good Hall of Fame action in the finals.
Do you think there's any chance Shuhei would play anything other than Oath?
No, he said in the pregame before he's not going to. Do we have
Just it's Oath.
audio? Sounds like people in the chat are. People hear us? All right. Yeah, Shuhei was did the pregame last week, and he said that he was going to play at least 2 copies of Oath. So,
At least two. Okay.
yeah, he said he was going to try to play one deck that was different, which I assume will just be an Oath variant of some sort. So that's what we have coming up next week. A bunch of Oath on Oath mirrors, I'm sure. Coming up next, we've got Delver on Delver mirror. So I think they're both going to be playing the card Gush. I know that this is a card that you really dislike and think that no one invented should be playing it, but both of these decks actually using Gush, so a bit of a change of pace.
Yeah, we haven't seen that at all this season.
Yeah,
Let's
this
check
will
it
be the
out.
first time we've seen Gush. We're good. All right, let's send it down to the mat for round 2 between Paul Rietzl and Shay. Welcome back to the Vintage Super League semifinals. We have the B decks. Shay took the first match between the A decks. And we have Delver on Delver. So Paul's going to get to choose whether he wants to play or draw. Of course, he's going to choose to play. His hand looks solid. It's got a couple gushes, which you don't necessarily want both in your opening hand. Preordained, which is nice, only 1 land. And Rich has no colored mana sources, so womp womp.
What's interesting is Rich will not keep this hand. Maybe he will. I don't know with the probe and being on the draw, but it actually lines up pretty nicely with Paul's, right? I mean, because he's got the misstep for whatever Paul plays on turn 1, and he's got strip mine, and Paul is going to be sitting with no land, and Rich I think has a better chance of drawing another land first. So
yeah, I mean they're both going to be on no land momentarily. So.
Right. But the difference is that Rich Shay has the probe. And he was on the draw. Of course, he failed to find a land, but
he's got 2 more looks, but he's going to need a couple of them at least at this point.
Right, and there it is.
We've seen Rich Shay with a probe strip mine draw against a 1-land hand more times than I can remember in VSL this season. It's been really crazy. Just he gets to check, make sure. Do I want to strip? Oh yeah, I want to strip.
Yeah, and how sick is probe turn in therapy? Like that's pretty nuts. It's
pretty insane. There's a part of me that would want to fire off this ponder, but definitely the safer play to get that therapy out first. It's going to get a 2-for-1 either way.
Wait a second. It looks like Paul forced pitching Gush. I think that's what he did. He didn't want to lose both the Gushes, so I guess if you're Rich probably would have named Force though, or no, of course he would have named the Pyromancer, right? Well, maybe or the. Actually, I have no idea what he would have named. Oh, there we go, Pyromancer.
All right, so he does get to name the Pyromancer. The Snuff Out's going to take care of the Delver. We'll wait till upkeep to see if Paul flips.
He always flips.
Yes, he does. He usually shows the perfect card. Against me, that was Gush. Here, it would not be Gush. Flusterstorm's not bad.
No.
Wow, that's a timely draw right there. Here comes Young Pyromancer. Nothing Paul can do. Paul's going to be looking for something like a Bolt. Next turn, we're looking at Treasure Cruise, Pyroblast, potentially Ponder too. If he finds a Gush, it's just like body bag time.
Yeah. And Rich
is going to start in the graveyard.
I was just about he's about to generating some tokens, which will get flashback, which will be allow the Cabal Therapy to be flashback. So Paul's about to lose. Okay, that's over.
Well, Paul's going to hear it from people now. I mean, I conceded to Paul when I was like Jace locked myself for the next 3 turns dead on board. We're like, wow, I can't believe you would scoop so early. Paul had at least 0.01% in that game versus my 0. He was
Yeah,
going to lose it.
he didn't even know that Rich had Treasure Cruise there.
Yeah, that game was super over. Ponder is going to make some tokens. Therapy is going to strip the entire hand. And he's still on 1 land, so there's not even like a great sequence. Although, I mean, definitely game not over. He could find Ancestral. He could find his own Treasure Cruise.
Right. That's true. I mean, he wasn't totally dead. He had a better chance than you did.
Paul is a man who values stamina. He's
Yeah.
not he's not a 22-year-old anymore. He's already played a bunch of matches today. I know how I felt yesterday. I mean, obviously I was just dead when I didn't get a draw step for the next 3 turns, but it's a lot easier to scoop when you've now been playing Vintage, trying to figure out storm lines for the last 5 hours.
That's true. They started, I guess, almost 3 hours ago. So,
Hmm.
well, and Paul has his typical early Delver, which is exactly what he wants to do. Um,
Rich
so
has strip
Rich,
mine and probe therapy, so if there's
yeah,
hands here,
again, he has the probe combo and strip mine, and he has another not a pretty pricey removal spell in snuff out, but
yeah. Paul does have the misstep, so he can stop the therapy from happening.
or the probe, but he let that one resolve it apparently, or
Yeah,
is it
it's
on the stack?
step a probe. No, it's on Rich. He's, you can see the little blue clock means who it's on. Well, Pyromancer's pretty much the perfect draw.
Yeah, it's like we'll have a good old fashioned Pyromancer versus Delver face off.
Yeah, I mean, right now, this Force of Will can potentially stop the Pyro.
Interesting. It looks like Rich put snuff out on the stack uh, before deciding. Okay, he just did in response to the misstep. If you are Paul, do you force this?
It's tempting. It doesn't tend to work out great. I mean, that Force of Will is a solid card, and Preordain's quite good.
Yeah, he wants to hold that for a pyromancer. Now, if he doesn't find a blue spell,
Bolt.
he's not going to be. Yeah, he's not going to be able to force it all. But like you were about to say, he can just drop Ruby Bolt. Oh, that's a good blue spell.
Yeah, that's perfect. Not sure if we put the other one on top. Misstep's also very good. He doesn't actually have any action, so game's far from over. So he actually gets to lead on Jace here, which is pretty sweet. Which means he can play Pyromancer Ponder next turn potentially and get a token even if it gets bolted.
I was going to ask you which one do you think he's going to lead with? I
Yeah.
guess it's if you're rich, how you feel about what do you think his chances of having force are after resolving ancestral? Pretty good. I think you're right.
He knows that Force is in
Oh,
the hand from the probe. He
that's
doesn't
right.
know any of the other cards yet. So he doesn't know if there's a blue card. But Force of Will is the one card he knows.
Looks like he's going for the pyromancer anyway.
Yeah, Pyromancer's not necessarily. I mean, it makes sense because we also know that Paul's playing multiple copies of Pyroblast in his deck, and he left up Mox Ruby.
True.
Preordain's a really good draw.
Yeah, he can play. He can play it and find and play anything. He might draw even Dak here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Pyromancer's exactly what he wants.
Got plenty of protection. Baleful Strix. Well, there's a card that will allow him to flash back Cabal Therapy, or he can just play it on defense. But he would rather ponder first. See what he can see. Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
So do you think Rich is going to just fire off this Ancestral Lotus, it looks like to me, or is he going to play one of these? Okay, he's finally going to go for another, the Jace, which we thought he might play last turn. And
So
Paul's
Paul
going to have
this turn.
none of it.
Rich has a great Well,
Jeez.
if that's the best draw in the deck.
Yeah.
I guess Treasure Cruise would be the best card in the deck. He's already hit his
Since
Ancestral.
he's already played Ancestral. Wow. So, you know, what card do you want to use to replay Ancestral? Jace. Jace will get that done for you. Although Rich is not out of this game yet. Not quite yet, at
He's
least.
pretty close.
Yeah. Looks like he's gonna lead with the Baleful Strikes, get a card out of it. Which fortunately turns out to be another land. He could, yeah, just Ancestral Recall draws Pyromancer, and that's Murderous Cut. So he has another removal spell, but his life is already at 9.
Fortunately.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the exemption clause on Murderous Cut is. Just target creature? Wow. Okay, kills anything. Nice. A lot of those black removal spells say like non-black or non-artifact, not Murderous Cut.
Yeah, that would be pretty tough to play. In Vintage. Alright, there's a brick. His board's pretty solid, though.
He was really hoping to find a cantrip to generate a few more tokens, but...
Oh, yeah. Finding both those gushes was pretty solid, though. He actually can just play Library, and it's going to be on next turn.
Yeah, the thing is, if he plays the Library, he's not going to be able to play the Spell Pierce or anything.
Right.
That...
Also, this two young Pyro, so now he's going to be able to Therapy miss. Or, I guess he gets Spell Pierce.
So here's the interesting thing. It looks like Rich is right back in this. He's going to get 2 Pyromancers in play and Flashback.
Yep.
So he's going to have two more tokens.
Not just back in this. He's really far ahead.
Yeah.
Like this is going to miss, but he's going to get to flash back the Therapy to take the Spell Pierce, potentially also take the Mox as well, which just puts Paul really far away from Library.
Exactly.
So now Library is just kind of a bad land in play. Plus, Rich is going to have a ton of tokens. Rich is still going to need to find, they're both in that spot of needing to find ways to start digging through their deck, but Rich has plus Baleful Strix plus Young Pyromancer, so if he finds anything, plus all the extra lands in play, super far ahead. Now, if Paul finds something like Treasure Cruise, that could be very different.
Yeah, one of the ways just for the audience, one of the ways that these matchups tend to play out is whoever can land and protect their early token generator will win. But what we saw here is both players lost their token generator and their early tempo threat. And in the mid game, they both resolved token generators. So we kind of got a board parity here. So now, like you said, it's going to be up to who can draw out of it. And Rich is going to do his best to keep Paul off this library. At the same time, Rich has,
What's the
like
name?
you said,
Young Pyro?
Yeah, looks like he's naming Young Pyro. And the next one will probably just name Spell Pierce or Mox Sapphire if he doesn't care about it.
Yeah, I think the Mox Sapphire is actually the better card here.
Yeah, counterintuitively.
He can name both. There's multiple Theories in the graveyard. He has that option, but... And he is profiting a token from casting it.
Pretty nutty. Yeah, the first player to draw their Delve spell, I think, is going to be the one who's going to probably pull ahead here. Although, Rich
drawn a lot of his draw spells. There's multiple Gushes, Ancestral, and like a couple Preordains all in. Now, of course, you find one, you're probably fairly likely to chain to the next one, but
that was a really bad draw for Paul. And Rich draws.
He didn't even play the land. Wow,
that's pretty good.
I mean, it's the worst of the card drawing spells, but every card drawing spell was so good that...
Yeah, everyone is so much better. That's just 2 more tokens.
The Strix and a bunch of tokens are going to come in.
And of course, Paul doesn't know that I guess Paul doesn't know, or does he, that Rich got this strip mine still?
No, but he's about to find out that Rich has the strip mine. He didn't use it. That's weird.
That was another bad draw for both players. And Paul's given up. I'm not sure that Paul was completely out of that, but...
You're not? Okay. Paul was pretty far out of that one. I don't know. I mean, his Mox was gone. He put us in his deck. Like he was going down to such a low life total that turn.
Yeah, I think his I didn't see what his life that was at the very end there, but
Yeah, I mean it wasn't
he,
low, but he didn't have a blocker for any of the like 5 tokens, so it was going down to like 8, and he was dead next turn. So yeah, probably worth it to just take that draw step and see if you chain the
yeah, just
fraction of
one
this thing
draw.
you have. Yeah, I mean it's going to be one turn no
He's
matter what. You're dead, but
yeah,
it's
he
out.
didn't he hadn't played Treasure Cruise, right?
Yeah, it
He
turns
played it
out
so,
that Rich's last card was Pyroblast, which counters
right.
anything that Paul could draw and makes 2 tokens. So yeah,
True
it was.
enough.
But yeah,
So
Rich is going to take a 2-0 lead, but dun 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 dun. The next match, Paul's playing Spirits.
yeah.
So that's happening, and Rich Shay is going to play his workshop deck. Um, should be
Interesting.
interesting. Paul gets to be on the play. What do you think about that matchup?
Well, to be honest, I don't remember all the cards in the Spirit deck, but on the
It
face
had a
of it,
bunch of Kataki's main. I'll tell you that
oh,
much.
okay. Well, that's pretty good. But on the face of it, I think the Workshop deck is probably one of the Spirit deck's weaker matchups, right?
I think that Rich was saying he thought that it was a horrible matchup for him just because Paul's got like 20 more than 20 lands to go with his
Okay.
monster stuff. He's got, um, he might even be 4 Katakis and 2 Stoneforge Mystics.
Oh
Doesn't
God.
have cards like Mental Misstep. So I think Rich thought that this could be a pretty tough matchup for him. Of course, cards like Thorn are going to look a little bit silly. Uh, but yeah, I expect there to be some good magic. This is clearly not a matchup that we've really seen played out. But Paul now has his back against the wall. He's going to have to win this match, and then Rich is going to get to be on the play for the last two and choose, whatever deck he wants. And Rich just has to win one of the three if he does that. Um, I'm not
Yeah, I
sure
think one
exactly
of
how
the
the tiebreakers work out if he needs to win this match to potentially get third, but we'll see.
yeah, just having played a lot of the Hate Bears deck. I mean, the Hate Bears are really good against blue decks, but oftentimes they don't do much against the Workshop decks. Like Trike is just murders your whole board. So
That's true. But if your hate bear is Kataki, then that helps
yeah,
things
if
dramatically.
you draw the Kataki, that changes the matchup a bit.
Yeah.
I guess
So,
we'll find out.
yep. Match 3, Spirits, coming up next.